Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 7, text number 47. Shasvat prasantam abhayam pratibodhamatrang. Shasvat prasantam abhayam pratibodhamatram. Shodam samam sat asata paramat matatvam. Shabdo nayatra purakalakvan kriyarto. Shabdo nayatra purakarakvan kriarto. Maya purait yabimuke chavila jamana. Tadvai padam bhagavata parmasya punksho. Brahmeti yad vidur ashasukam vishokam. Shashvat prasantam abhayam pratibodhamatram. Shodam samangsad ashata paramat matatvam. Shabdo nayatra purakarakvan kriarto. Maya purat yabimuke chavilajmana. Tadvai pudam bhagavata paramasya punkso. Prameti yad vidur ajasa sukam vishokam. Shasvat prasantam abhayam pratapodhamatram. Shuddham samam sad asata paramat matatvam. Shabdo nayatra purakarakvan kriyarto. Maya purat yabimuke chavilajmana. Tadvai padam bhagavata paramasya punkso. Brahmeti yad vidur ashasukam vishokam. Next. Vaishnavis. Translation. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. Please repeat. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbances and fearless. He is completely consciousness. He is complete consciousness, as opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinction. He is the principal primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruit of activities, and in whom the illusionary energy does not stand. I'll read, it's an extremely long purport, so I'll read some excerpts from the purport. But first, let us offer Guru Param Pranams. Namah Krishna Udle Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Charane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Yadi Sutarane Om Agnat Manindasya Gina Gina Jaksun Militam Gina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manuspidal Venabhutale Namrupa Kadamayam Daratis Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Parakamalam Gurum Vaishnavansha Sri Rupam Shagrata Raghunatam Tam Sajaivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Para Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Tamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinaband Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namosite Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavanesh Vishavana Sukadevi Pranamani Vancha Kapa Kribhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhavati Pam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Nanam Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Toram Madhurya Nasta Puryesu Abadeshu Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavata Uttama Shloka Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So, we'll just read some excerpts from Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Supreme Enjoyer, the Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Brahman, or the summum bonum. Summum bonum is Latin. That means the sum total. Because of his being the supreme cause of all causes. So, Sarvakarna Karnam, just as Lord Brahma says in the Brahma Samhita. In fact, the speaker here of these verses is also Lord Brahma. And he is summarizing the glories of the Lord in various incarnations. Now he's speaking of the general qualities of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada continues. In other words, impersonal Brahman is a feature of the Absolute, distinct from the material variegatedness, just as light is conception, distinct from the counterpart, darkness. But the light has its variegatedness or variety, which is seen by those who further advance in the light. In other words, those on the path of self-realization. That's why we say, Om Agyanaptavinandasya Gyana Gana Shakaya Chaksuun Manitam Gena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. So the translation, perhaps you know, I who am standing in the darkness of ignorance to offer my respectful obeisance unto my spiritual master, who has forced open my eyes with the torch of the light of knowledge. So, on the path of self-realization, a conditioned soul who is engaged in Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti means the regulated principles of devotional service. This is like climbing the ladder. Vaidhi Bhakti is a subdivision of Sadhana Bhakti. So within Sadhana Bhakti, there is Vaidhi Bhakti, generally the rules and regulations such as rising early in the morning, chanting rounds nicely, hearing the scripture, and attending arti ceremonies, and so forth. This is Vaidhi Bhakti, the regulated principles. And within sadhana also is included Raganuga. Raganuga means when spontaneous devotional service arises within the heart of the devotee. And there is a huge scope of Raganuga Bhakti. On the low end of the scale, there can be some spontaneous desires to do something nice for Krishna, to do something nice for Guru, and something nice for the Vaishnavas. For example, if you're driving along on the road, you see some first-class fruit on a fruit stand. You say, oh, that would be very nice for the deities. I must get them. That's on the Raganuga side. Nobody ordered you, unless maybe your Guru or Vaishnavas or temple authorities said, when you go out, buy fruit. That is more on the Vaidhi side. That's more regimented, following authority concept. But when you just see, oh, those are such nice fruits, I've got to get nice fruit, I've got to get them for the deities, that's on the Raganuga side. Of course, on the highest level of Raganuga is those devotees situated in love of Godhead, who have perfected their love of Godhead. There's also spontaneous love of Godhead. But that is on the highest side. On the highest side. So try to understand there's a spectrum, a full spectrum. Just like in the word liberation, there's a full spectrum. When you speak of liberated souls, there's those who are in primary position or of liberated souls, those who are fully self-realized, fully liberated. We have to make these distinctions. A lot of devotees are confused on these points because they don't know the distinctions. Fully liberated means Paramahansa, and this word Paramahansa must not be used casually. Paramahansa means swan-like. Hansa means swan. Paramahansa is used for glorifying acharyas. Regular guru cannot be called Paramahansa. If a regular guru is called Paramahansa, it's actually a deviation. Paramahansa means fully self-realized, very high, at least Uttamakari, Uttmadakari, like that. Very high position. But so it cannot be taken casually, you know. So below that, there is also Kanistadikari, means Prakrita Bhakta, materialistic devotee, and working the way up to Madhyamadikari, mid-level, and then Uttamadikari means high level. So there are different levels of bhakti, there are different levels of accomplishment in Krishna consciousness. Then this is the way of testing what's what, who's who. Therefore, we have a check and balance system, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Guru means the spiritual master, of course. Sadhu means the devotees, varieties of devotees. And when one wants to know distinctions and wants to clear up something in the philosophy, preferably advanced devotees. Jai Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Jai Lakshmi Singha. Preferably one should inquire from advanced devotees. Because if you inquire from somebody that doesn't know the philosophy, it will only further confuse you. And if you inquire from senior devotees and they don't agree on something, then the check and balance system is the Shastra. Because sometimes even amongst senior devotees, there may be differences of opinion according to our realization, according to understanding. So Shastra is the ultimate protection. And then of course if the guru if the guru is physically accessible, then one can inquire from guru when the opportunity arises. Nowadays it's not very easy because most of my godbrothers who are authorized initiating gurus in ISKCON have so many thousands of disciples, very difficult to, they generally have a tough time answering mails, you know, that kind of thing. So it's not so easy to inquire directly from guru. So generally, ideally there should be a system of lieutenants, of senior disciples and others, congregational leaders and so forth, who can answer inquiries from devotees. But before guru, frivolous things should not be done. Should not be frivolous inquiries should not be made. But devotees think, especially in household life, that their griha, or their house and home and family, is the center of the universe. So then they want to see Gurudev, to ask the question, well, I got to see Gurudev, got to see Gurudev, got to see Gurudev. Nobody else can answer my question. They managed to elbow their way in to see Gurudev past a crowd. And then they come before Gurudev, offer their Dhanava pranams and say, Gurudev, my baby just pooped in his diapers. What should I do? This is going on. Try to understand this is going on. creating burden on the Guru. This is not disciple. This is initiate. There's a distinction between disciple and initiate. One should relieve the burden of Guru, not create burden of the Guru. But one night I was in Mayapur, I went up to see Gopal Krishna Maharaj for a few minutes. Only had some important question. I never bother any of my leading God brothers with anything frivolous. I had an important question. I went up there. It happened to be, it was after 10 o'clock at night. And there was a queue of 20 devotees waiting to have his darshan. I got very upset personally. I got very upset. It's past 10 o'clock at night. They don't care. And just by looking at their faces, I knew that their questions weren't worth asking to Guru. They could have got, any senior devotee could have asked their questions. I knew that they were going there for their sense gratification. Okay, fine. It's transcendental sense gratification. It's a higher form of sense gratification than sex or cinema watching. Okay, fine. But at whose expense? At the expense of Guru. That's the difficulty. That's the difficulty. Do not become a burden on Guru, whether you're initiated or not. Simply think in terms of service to Guru, that's all, and service to Vaishnavas. So actually, I shooed away those devotees. I was a little bit disgusted because merely by looking at their faces, I could see that they had nothing important to inquire from Maharaj. Nothing important. Just by looking at their faces, I knew they were coming with trivial things and to sap the energy of their Gurudev. So I couldn't handle that. But actually, a friend of mine who used to be one of Maharaj's secretaries reported that these Grihametis, and they're almost all Grihametis, not Grihastas. Some are Grihastas. They lodged a complaint with Maharaj saying, hey, your secretary is telling us not to come in. And then he, out of compassion, he tells the secretary, no, don't stop them. But this self-sacrifice is a form of suicide because it's too much of a drain. That's why many of my initiating God brothers have health problems. They do take on the karma of their disciples, there's no question about it. So unless the disciples act as disciples and not as initiates, then they're taking the energy, they're sucking the energy away from Guru, draining him for their enjoyment. Prabhupada said, don't make Guru a pet. But this is going on. Oh, Prabhu, you're initiated? Yes. Who is your Guru? Oh, so-and-so Maharaj. Oh, Jai. For distinction, adoration, they want to be able to brag that they have a famous Guru. So many of these low-grade devotees, they just want to be able to brag that they have a famous Guru. That's all. They're not really sincere. They're not serious. They take initiation from that person because they like him, he's charismatic, and they want to take his energy, they want to profit from him. They're not thinking in terms of service. That is my neophyte. So going back to the conception of liberated soul, who is a liberated soul? So try to understand that it's a pyramid-shaped definition. Pyramid-shaped. Like this. On the bottom, anyone who's chanting Hare Krishna is liberated soul. So all of you sitting here are liberated souls, regardless whether what your lifestyle is or whether you are making good decisions or bad decisions of life, depending on the quality of your sadhana and all that. But actually everybody here is liberated on the low level because you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. Just like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu went to visit a village called Kalinigram. He went there 3 times. Oh, you remember? You've read Chaitanya Charitamrita? You've heard. So, this village, I don't know where in India it is, perhaps it was South India. So he went there 3 times. On each time, they had only one question for Mahaprabhu: who is a Vaishnav? I don't remember the other 2 answers, but at least one of the times Mahaprabhu said, whoever chants Hare Krishna is a Vaishnav. Haribol! Of course, we know from Harinam Chintamani by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there are different levels of chanting. There's Namaparad, Namabas, clearing stage, Shuddhanam, very high stage of chanting. We know there's Kanista, Madhyam, Uttama, different levels of Vaishnav. But Vaishnav, all Vaishnavas are liberated souls if they are following Acharya, bona fide spiritual master. If they're not following bona fide spiritual master, then they can't be called liberated souls because they're deep under the modes of material nature. And that doesn't mean that they even have to be initiated necessarily. Initiation is a samskara. Samskaras are the necessary formalities for human life. So, like first grain ceremony for babies, hair cutting ceremony for babies, and other than the grain ceremony is usually combined with the ceremony of choosing either the books, Prabhupada's books, or the coins. It was very funny because I have a nephew who's now about close to 40 years old. It was very funny because when he was a little baby, I mean, he's crawling baby. See, 6 months old is when the ceremony is done. So he was just a crawling baby. And Los Angeles at that time were some Vaishnavis who were the world's top book distributors. And they were friends of the mother of my nephew. So they all came to the grain ceremony, which was held in the yard of the house with the fire jugna and the whole thing, had somebody did the jugna. So the coins were placed out on one side, Prabhupada's books on the other side. Set the baby down. The baby went straight for the coins. But there were at least 4 world top book distributors there. So they were thinking, oh no, this can't be, this is not right. So they reset the baby, put the baby back. All right. Now they let go of him, and he went forward and went for the coins again. And they were just not happy about this. No, there must be some mistake, because they're book distributors, dedicated to distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So they pulled the baby back again and reset him at least a 3rd time. They may have done it 4 times, at least 3 times they did it. Reset the baby, and each time he went for the coins. Because people have their predestined nature to some degree, In Indonesia, that is to say in Bali, I go to Bali for preaching. Very nice place. Devotees there are very nice. There they put kartals in the middle. I attended one of these grain ceremonies for a newborn infant or 6-month-old infant. And there was a little baby girl. But the baby girl went not for the book, not for the coins, for the kartals. Kijai, Hariva! That was weak. Hariva! That means the probability is that this Vaishnavi, as she grows up, she will be a kirtanir. She'll be a singer. Very nice, because she went for the kartals. She didn't go for the money. She didn't go for the books. So her perfection of her life will be singing for Krishna, singing for the Vaishnavas, singing for Prabhupada, singing for the deities. That will be her perfection, you see. Never mind she's in a Vaishnavi body. That's not important. Anyone can become fully self-realized just by doing something nice for Krishna. Just something nice. We know this from Krishna's own words in Bhagavad Gita. Patram puspam phalam toyam jomi bhakti priyachati. Just offer me with love and devotion fruit, a flower, leaf, or water, and I will accept it. Of course, if you're worth millions of crores and you offer only a leaf to the deities, you can't expect they're going to be very satisfied. Come on, I'm giving you so much money and you're holding on to me. What kind of creep are you? You can't expect the deity's not a fool. If you have lots of wealth and you're offering only a token amount, we see Hindus come, well-dressed Hindus, businessmen, and their wives come to the temple, very well-dressed. You know that their financial situation, they're worth lakhs and lakhs, or some cases even crores. And it always pains me to see them put 10 rupees in the hundi box. Of course, they're cheating themselves. So Prabhupada said, don't try to cheat Krishna. He's a better cheater than you are. So if you try to cheat Krishna, all right, fine. Your next life, less money. Very simple. Krishna allows the goddess of fortune to give you money, but if you misuse it, the next life you may live in poverty. Sometimes these people living in slums in India, they may have been wealthy in their last life, and they abused it. They abused it. They didn't give in charity properly. Because the Bhagavad says if you give in charity to an ordinary person, that same amount of money will come back to you in the next life. If you give to somebody who's a little bit qualified, it'll come back double in the next life. If you give to a brahmana who is not so highly qualified, maybe it'll come back 100 times over. Even if the brahmana's bidi smoker, maybe you give him a donation, we don't recommend, but it may come back 100 times over because they're connected with the path of self-realization. But if somebody's a qualified Brahman, then it'll come back thousands of times over. If somebody is a lower grade Vaishnav, then it'll come back hundreds of thousands of times over in the next life. And if somebody is a highly qualified Vaishnav, a very high grade saintly Vaishnav, and you give money to them, the next life it comes back millions of times over. This is not my personal opinion. It's from the Shastra. That's how Ambarish Prabhu, Henry Ford, that Alfred Ford Jr., that's how he became so wealthy, because in his last life, he generously gave in charity to Vaishnavas specifically, to Brahmanas specifically, not to hospitals. I mean, I'm not trying to knock charity at a hospital. If somebody wants to support Bhaktivedanta Hospital, that's fine. There are devotee hospitals, although some devotees, some cynical devotees spit on the idea of, and they call the ISKCON's Food for Life program mundane. If it's prasadam, it's not mundane. It's only mundane if it's not properly offered to Krishna. But for example, at Rajmundry I've seen, there's a kitchen there, and they are cooking up lots of prasadam. They have a Food for Life program. They go out, they distribute it in different ways. And in the kitchen, on the side of the kitchen, there's a fat and happy little Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra, about the same size as the ones on the altar here. Haribol! So who's eating all the prasad? Fat and happy little Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra. They'll eat anything if it's sattvic. If it doesn't have garlic and onions, they'll eat it. Pretty much, Even when Lord Jagannath is riding on his chariot, I ride on the chariot. People send up whole boxes of those British cookies, and other things, little candies, things like that. They send all that up on the chariot, sometimes whole boxes, sometimes big baskets, They go up and they sit on the altar. There's no time even to put a tulsi leaf. Although generally on home-cooked things, the pujaris will put a tulsi leaf if they can, but it's happening so fast sometimes they don't even have time to put a tulsi leaf, So all these, factory-made cookies and wafers and all that are going up on the chariot, and then Lord Jagannath eats them immediately with his glance, just with his glance. How do we know? Because Brahma Samhita says so. That the Lord eats with his eyes, he can eat with his ears, he can eat with his toes, he can see with his toes. All the senses are interchangeable according to Brahma Samhita. So it's no big deal with his big giant eyes to see what's being offered, and they're offering it with love. That's the point, Priti Purvikam. With love. They're offering with love, therefore the Lord accepts it. And even if they're not very advanced in their level of love, still he'll accept it. That's Jagannath. That's why we worship Jagannath, because he's magnanimous. A very, very big heart, a huge heart. Jagannath, there's no limit to the size and scope of his heart. He is truly Dinabandho. He is truly the friend of the fallen. There's no doubt about it. So they offer all these factory-made cookies, and little inside the big boxes, little poly-wrapped cookies, So I'm up on the chariot, and it's great fun. It's ecstatic fun, tossing these cookies back to the congregation. No, child must be quiet. Prabhupada would not tolerate children making noise in class. He'd always send them out if they couldn't control their senses. Because it's distraction. It distracts the speaker also. So, usually there's some rule against throwing prasadam from the chariots in many places. But it's irresistible. Sometimes the very person that makes the rule that you can throw the prasadam also throws prasadam because it's so much fun, And there is you throw it out, the prasadam, and there's a scramble. Who can catch it? I noticed something very interesting. The devotees, due to their pious activities, catch the prasad easier than those that are sinful. No, I've noted. You can only notice that if you are right near the chariot or if you're right on the chariot. I take note of this. I try to favor those that are down and out, like the dirty little street kids. I try to get them some prasad so they'll be favored. But oftentimes, the men reach up and catch it with one hand sometimes. The devotees sometimes reach up and catch it with one hand. Others are struggling. Ladies have a good idea. If they're smart, they put out their sari and make a basket to catch it, then that's easy. And I tend to favor the elderly and the scruffy little street kids, because this is their chance. Here's their one chance. Of course, they're getting the holy name of the Lord, very loud kirtans on giant sound system, and they're getting the darshan of Lord Jagannath when he's in a royally good mood and wants to deliver the whole universe. And he's doing it too. He's delivering the whole universe. Of course, these little kids are getting that mercy, but it's nice to put the prasadam mercy on top of that. It doesn't matter it's factory made. Lord Jagannath eats it. That's when he's in that magnanimous mood. Radha Krishna, you can't offer them factory made. Devotees try to do that. Sometimes I have to stop the pujaris and say, you can't give those factory-made cookies to Radha Krishna. You can't do that. You can't give them to Krishna Balaram either. But you can, to Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, you can give these kind of things. They'll eat it. That's why we worship them. They always like snacks. They're always hungry. After all, they eat 52 times a day in Jagannath Puri, right? Good appetite. Jagannath has a good appetite, So all this kind of special mercy, we have to take the full advantage of this special mercy and bathe in this mercy of the Lord. This is necessary. So, surrendered souls, there's a different verse. What is that realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss. That means the personality of Godhead. This is not referring to Brahmajyoti. In a Brahmajyoti, there is no Ananda. Do you know that? Do you know there's no Ananda in Brahmajyoti? There's only Sat and Chit. This is why Jiva is going to the Brahmajyoti cannot be satisfied. Of course, we don't know these things, but Prabhupada makes the point that sometimes the Jiva, after staying an uncountable amount of time, because they're beyond time, Brahmajyoti is not material, it's not within the material world, therefore you can't count the times. After some duration, it's impossible to count how long. It could be, on earth time, it could be thousands of millennia or more, or the Mahatattva could come and go several times over. There's no time. So the jivas that are in the Brahmajyoti stay there for a duration. All we can say is for a duration because there's no time. But they only have Sat and Chit. Ananda is only available for the devotees. Haribol. So all of you have Ananda available. This is very nice. But Prabhupada makes the point, after some time, more or less they get bored. Just vibrating is not much fun. So the Brahmajyoti is not, the English word is monolithic, that means one. Like, you look at a blank piece of paper, it looks like one. Even if you look at a blank piece of paper, you put it under a microscope, you'll see that it's made up of particles. But without a microscope, you look at a blank piece of paper, it looks like it's all one, Similarly, the Brahmajyoti is presumed to be all one, and in reality it's not. In reality, it's unlimited vibrating jivas. That's what the Brahmajyoti is. It's not the oneness that the yogis and those jnanis, whoever succeeds on attaining Brahmajyoti, it's not the oneness that they think they have attained. They think they've become one with God. It is not possible. So, in other words, the individuality of the soul cannot be wiped out, cannot be killed. Nahanyate hanyamana shivire. There's no question of killing the soul. And so therefore, they just vibrate as individual souls with no Ananda. After some time, it appears, they become something equivalent of a board. Although there's no material anything up there, but the jiva, the soul by nature, wants activity, wants to do something. It's not my point, but Prabhupada says, so then they fall down to the material world again and do mundane charity and things like that. Become a yogi, bogi, something, Mayavadi, guru, something like that. They come back to the material world because they're bored up there, just vibrating. Although you cannot count how long they're there, you see. So, on the other hand, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full of Ananda. So, we are all destined to go into the Ananda situation. And we already being given Ananda by being given the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Because Narottam Das Thakur says, Kevala Ananda Kanda, this chanting of Hare Krishna is simply joyful. So, if we can hold on to the lotus feet of Guru Parampara, then we can enter into that. Actually, even more surprising is that we are already within the body of the Lord. We are already in association of Chaitanya Babu. We are already in the association of Radha Krishna, but we can't see it. Because if we say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, by the mercy of the Vaishnava Acharyas, that's it, direct association with Radha and Krishna. Hare is Radharani, Krishna is Krishna. But just to get an idea about what about Rama, so once a Hindu in class asked Srila Prabhupada, is there Rama of Hare Krishna, Hare Rama? Is it Ram, or is it Ram of Ayodhya, or is it Balaram? That was a good question. Prabhupada's very clever, If they were Hindu attached to Ram of Ayodhya, if he said it was Balaram or if he said it was anything else, they would never come back again. They say, oh, this ISKCON is bogus. They don't know how to properly honor Lord Ram. That would be the reaction. So Prabhupada's answer very clever. He says, as you like. Very clever. But in reality, the Ram of Hari Rama cannot be Balaram. Cannot be. You're surprised? Hari is Radharani. Balaram does not consort with Radharani. It cannot be Balaram. Just can't. You understand? Are you surprised, sir? No, you're not surprised. Radharani never consorts with Balaram. Never. It's not possible. In fact, when Lord Balaram in the Krishna books describes when he dances with gopis in rasa dance, he has his own set of gopis. He never touches, he has nothing to do with Krishna's gopis, separate group. He has his own club, so to speak, of gopis, of adoring young girls, Their personalities are similar. In fact, it is said there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram except that Balaram is white and Krishna is black, blue. That's the only difference. Otherwise, their personalities are very similar. However, it is Baladev that descends as Nityananda. Balaram Hoila Nitai, Narottam Das Thakur says. The interesting fact is that so Lord Balaram descends as Nityananda. That means Nityananda Prabhu is the incarnation of Baladev. You know that already. But does Baladev really become somebody else when he descends as Nityananda Prabhu? Does he become somebody else? No. Yes, no. He does become somebody else? How many of you agree that he becomes somebody else? They don't agree. So you don't agree that when Baladev descends as Nityananda Prabhu, that he becomes somebody else, a different personality? Huh? He does? You think he does become a different personality? Well, that's because we don't know enough about Baladev. Baladev is Adi Guru. He's the original guru after Krishna. Of course, Krishna's Adi Guru, but Baladev, the point is, Baladev descends as Nitai without a change of personality. The mercy of Nityananda Prabhu is the mercy of Baladev. It's on the absolute platform. There's not some double thing that Baladev changes his personality when he descends as Nityananda Prabhu. This very same Baladev is as merciful as Nityananda Prabhu. Hareba! Well, you have to take the opportunity to take shelter of Baladev then to find out that mercy. I'll just give you a little example. When I first was a new devotee in San Francisco, USA, I got my second initiation. There was no fancy altar like this, no bright lights. And so after I got my Brahmin initiation, there was just some shelves that Lord Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra were sitting on some shelves. And there was no proper program of worship and no established deity program. And later, Srila Prabhupada established that, but the devotees were so green, they weren't ready to handle that. So the regulated principles of Vaidhi Bhakti of deity worship came gradually, around about 1969. Even RT was not started up until 1969. 1968, when I joined, there was no RT yet, Because, Prabhupada was dealing with extremely green followers, even his initiated devotees. Not that long before, a significant number of them who later became leaders were nudists. You won't find it in the Leelamrita. But some men who became top leaders in the movement were previously nudists. The places mentioned in the Leelamrita, the Morning Star Ranch in Northern California, at that time it was about a 4-hour drive from San Francisco. But Shamasundar and Mukunda, they were guided by Paramama, they're guided by Krishna that you should ask Swamiji, he wasn't called Prabhupada yet, you should take Swamiji up there because Krishna knew there were some devotees up there, some important devotees up there in the nudist colony. As a non-devotee, I lived as the bird flies. I was not more than 5 kilometers from that ranch. It was way up in the hills, and the roads were so windy that on the windy roads would probably be more than 10 kilometers. But as the bird flies, less than 5 kilometers from where I grew up on the farm, on a apple ranch on a farm. So my father was adventurous type, and he himself was a bit of a hippie. He grew long hair, and he was an artist. And so sometimes I went up there with him a couple of times. I was not attracted. It was so bad. These naked people, even the naked women, did not attract me. You know, so dirty. Everything was filthy dirty. There were pigs, there were chickens everywhere. That means they were not pure vegetarians. They were eating eggs. Otherwise, white chickens. There were pigs and every kind of animal up there. Dogs like anything. So they were living like dogs. But Prabhupada went there into this nudist colony, and he brought out, and in that nudist colony, 4 men became sannyasis. Yes. I won't tell you the names. I'll only say that none of them are still with us. They've all departed. But, and I didn't move there. I could have gone there, it would have been easy. They were living in trees, some of them. I mean, you know, very primitive lifestyle. Prabhupada went there, it's astonishing. No other Vaishnava would have gone there, not one. But because he's empowered by Baladev Nityananda, so he went there. As a super soul Baladev, you could say Nityananda Prabhu, in one sense, gave him permission to go there on a request of the devotees who telling the devotees within their heart, yes, there's some key devotees up there. Now imagine that, 4 sannyasis came from that place. That's Prabhupada. Haribol. Some new devotees say, well, I don't know your Prabhupada. Well, hear more about him, hear more about his history. You want to learn about the mercy of Prabhupada? Then hear how he went to a nudist colony and took these people that worked. They weren't people, they're living 2-legged animals, Dvipada Pashu. These 2-legged animals, filthy, dirty, illicit sex, abominable situation, and transformed them into generals in his army. That's Prabhupada. Haribol. This is the way you can understand. What did he accomplish as the agent of Srimati Radharani and Nityananda? The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada writes that the spiritual master is either the incarnation of the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu or Srimati Radharani. In the case of Srila Prabhupada, it's fair to say both. I'm not saying incarnation of the full personality of Godhead. That's not the point, not at all. That would be a deviation. Incarnation of the mercy, that's what Prabhupada wrote. Incarnation of the mercy, not of Vishnu-tattva. So, in this way, even a so-called common devotee, which there is no such thing as a common devotee. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sudurlabha, one who worships me, one who even tries a little bit to surrender to me. Sudurlabha, very rare, you see. So, on the other hand, you all have the opportunity here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. You're all here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his representatives who practices Krishna consciousness. Thus, the Ananda is available to you, which is not available to big yogis and bogis, tyagis. Tyagis means those who perform severe austerities with the hope of going somewhere else, some higher level, either to enter into Brahman or to go to the heavenly planets. Tyagis, yogis, bogis, jnanis after mental speculation, they may also do austerity. They may want to go to the heavenly planets or to merge into Brahman. But mukti or liberation comes to devotees as a side effect. That's not something devotees don't chase after mukti. Others on the path of self-realization, they chase after mukti, they want liberation. Devotees don't care. It is said that devotees kick on the face of mukti. Who follows behind anyone chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Mukti Devi is following behind you, and you can't kick her away. She wants to give liberation to the Vaishnavas, but not by merging into Brahman, by entering into loving rasa with Krishna. So she is helping Bhakti Devi then for the practitioner to advance in Krishna consciousness, to get out of the cycle of repeated birth and death. Certainly the Vaishnavas will get out. Devotees of the Lord will get out of the cycle of repeated birth and death. It only depends on whether you want to take the slow train, you want to take the local train, or do you want to take the Rajdhani Express without stopovers. The slow trains can take sometimes as much as 8 hours longer for a long journey. Too many stops. Every little puddle jump, they stopped. And a handful of people out in the countryside somewhere, the train stops. That's a local train. But everyone here has the opportunity to be on the Rajdhani Express. No stops. Straight to Goloka Vrindavan. However, most devotees will not go straight to Goloka Vrindavan. Most devotees will have one stopover only on that express train. That stopover is Gokula. Gokula means the planet in some universe somewhere where Krishna is enacting his pastimes in Prakat Lila. Prakat Lila means manifest. Because Krishna's pastimes are eternal, they're always going on, always going on. And the place we know as Vrindavan, India, is, of course, it's not really located in India, but we say it's in India. You can drive there. But that is not the same as, it's not different from Goloka Vrindavan, but at the same time, Gokula in some other universe is of a slightly different flavor. Because there you can go and you can burn off the last of your material desires. For example, some of the gopis in Krishna Lila, they worked their way up through sadhana bhakti. Some were by kripa, mercy. Some were simply attracted by Krishna, like there were some sages in the forest where Lord Ram went, and they were attracted in a conjugal mood with Lord Ram, but it was an embarrassing situation. They're in male bodies, but they felt arising in their hearts due to the beauty of Lord Ram. They felt some conjugal feeling arising, although they were men. So then, fulfilling that desire, some of those great sages came back as gopis in Vrindavan during Krishna's manifested Leela. Prakat means manifested Leela. Aprakat means unmanifest, can't see it. At the present time, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, in the place we think is in India, is aprakat. We can't see. Unless you have a completely pure heart, can't see the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, which are going on there. So Gokula means some planet in the universe. As we speak, somewhere in the universe, Krishna is there in his eternal pastimes with devotees, enjoying Leela, killing demons or whatever, stealing butter, etc. In some universe somewhere, this Nitya Leela is going on right now. So when somebody has achieved a very high level of success in Krishna consciousness, they'll be transferred to Gokula, the planet where Krishna's manifest pastimes are taking place. Then they get the final purification. Some of the gopis, for example, the married gopis, if somebody is a devotee in the mood of wants to enter into Braj, everything's fine, but they're not free from sex desire yet, then you can become a married gopi. Married gopis, they have husbands, there's some sex life, they have babies. Krishna's book is described that they would be nursing their baby, hear the sound of Krishna's flute, and they drop the baby and try to run out the door. So they have babies, that means there's some sex life. So the last sex life then, but on a whole environment on a very high level. But some of the gopis then feeling too much separation because what their husbands, relatives, mother-in-law, and others would see that they were trying to run out the door because they would go mad. They would hear the sound of Krishna's flute. And Krishna, being a transcendental rascal, is calling them to come for rasa dance on purpose, purposely calling them. So then some of those gopis are physically restrained by their relatives, husband, etc., and they can't go. Some of them, the vipralambha or separation, was so severe that on the spot they would leave their body, and then from that situation they would be transferred to Goloka Vrindavan because all material, everything burned, completely burned away, any dirt left in the heart, any lust left in the heart, burned away by the intensity of the fire of separation from Krishna. So sometimes that's required to bring about the final purification before one is allowed to enter into eternal Krishna Lila. Sometimes that final purification. So Gokula, then most devotees who qualified to go with Krishna by remembering him at time of death and so forth, will go to Gokul. But Srila Prabhupada said that, told Jananivas, head pujari in Mayapur, that pujaris go directly to Goloka Vrindavan. They don't have to go through Gokul. Hariva. But that probably doesn't count your worship of Gopal at home. In our line, we are supposed to worship Lord Chaitanya Nityananda, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra. Srila Prabhupada never was enthusiastic for his disciples to worship Gopal. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not something promoted by our acharyas. So Prabhupada only taking those things and those practices promoted by previous acharyas. So Gopal was not promoted by our previous acharyas, except for There are exceptions, of course. If somebody's particular Ras is with Gopal and they're very advanced, that is different. But the followers of Mahaprabhu generally, the Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and we are Prabhupada Nugas, we are followers of Srila Prabhupada. So he did not introduce worship of Gopal. But all those millions and millions of Hindus around the world worshiping Gopal, of course they will make some advancement. They'll become something attached to Krishna because Prabhupada's order was somehow or other just become attached to Krishna. In other words, any way you can do it. So if devotees can become attached to Gopal, if that's the way they can become attached to Krishna, that's fine. But if we want to make further advancement, then we should please Srila Prabhupada by becoming attached to Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Lord Chaitanya, and Nityananda, like that. Then this realm of Ananda is guaranteed. It's only a matter of how soon we'll get there. Anybody have any questions, comments, corrections? Okay. If you have no questions, it means you understood everything perfectly. If you have a question, you have to speak loudly. I need a relay person. Yes? Come on. Sit here and relay. Yeah. Because even with my earphones, I can't hear him clearly. In Grahastra Ashram.
Even by doing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti.
Pray to Gopal? Pray to whom? Well, as a sannyasi, I have to tell you the truth. If you can't perform sadhana bhakti properly, you're going to take a hit. There's no doubt about it. But on the other hand, Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, Lord Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra are very merciful. This is why we should worship Gauritai and Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra. They're more merciful than Gopal. Gopal is cute and you can develop love for Gopal, that's fine. But Jagannath Baladeva and Subhadra are more merciful. I started to tell a story about when I was in San Francisco in 1969. And after my Brahminical initiation, Jagannath Baladeva and Subhadra were just standing on a shelf. So I got some idea in my brain that they ought to get a bath because they weren't getting any symbolic bath in those days. You know, Jagannath doesn't take a water bath every day, but they do a ritual meditation, a bath bowl, and so forth. And the Lord takes his bath by meditation, by the meditation of the Pujari, invitation of the Pujari. But none of that was established. So I thought, well, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ought to get a bath. They've been standing up there; they're probably dusty. So I laid out some newspaper on the floor of the temple room. Very reverentially, I took down Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra. I laid them down on the newspaper, and I gave them a bath with a damp cloth and detergent. But I'm still around to tell the story. That gives you some idea of the mercy of Jagannath. From that, so what happened is that Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra, they accepted my intent and they overlooked my foolish error. They knew I didn't know any better. It was really foolish. Detergent of all things, you know. But I'm still around to tell the story because of their mercy. Because Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra are my Ishtadev, my original deities. So, I was talking with one devotee who works at a business, not a call center, but he is a businessman who is doing marketing with the United States. So then he has to stay up way late at night because of the time difference. Los Angeles, for example, is 12 and a half hours difference from here. Earlier, Los Angeles right now is on the previous night, not the same day as us. And they have to, they will catch up later. But so he's making these calls. He's not a call center, but sales work and marketing. So he can't take rest early. So then he can't get up early in the morning. So then he's forced to chant his rounds starting around 10 o'clock in the morning. This is not favorable, but what can he do? He's forced, He can't just go to work on 4 hours sleep, Not practical, not supposed to drink coffee or tea. I can't nod out at work, So then his options are limited. So they're Desha Kalapatra considerations. You can still advance in Krishna consciousness. You just have some obstacles you have to deal with. You also work late? No? No excuses. See, the thing is that people get locked, even devotees get locked into bad habits. Staying up late is one of the bad habits. What time do you get off work? Oh, you get off work at 6 o'clock. No excuse. No excuse. You're a married man, I imagine. So you have plenty of time then. You're lucky because in India, so many men are working till 9 o'clock at night. So there it's very difficult for them. They come home, they eat dinner at 9 o'clock at night, spend a little time with the wife. The kids might not even be up, or the kids are in the back room playing video games, Shattered family, these days the video games are the babysitter, they're in the back room, they don't even see dad when he comes home from work, Dad pays for the video game, that's all they care. No gratitude, no nothing. This is modern parenting, As long as they have their senses gratified. It's not good. They should at least have gratitude. One senior devotee in this area, his son is very spoiled brat. I was sitting there and I watched in dismay as he came up. His father was on the phone. I watched in dismay as the boy pulled the phone away from his father and went like this in front of him to get his attention. Very rude, very puffed up. But his father supplying him out of love and generosity, big, huge, probably 5,000 rupee earphones for playing his video games. No gratitude. That was so rude and obnoxious. I never do this, but I couldn't handle it. I scolded him. I never do that. I'm an outsider, but I couldn't handle watching that. I scolded the boy. I said, how dare you be so rude? He speaks English. How dare you be so rude and obnoxious? Can't do that. But it's modern parenting. No gratitude. But anyways, so Deshakala Patra, you do the best you can. But since you're coming home early, you see, no excuses. Naturally, it's said, early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. I always say we can't guarantee the wisdom part of it. I mean, we can guarantee the wisdom part of it. We can't guarantee the wealth part of it. We can't say that you're going to become a birla by taking rest early every night. But we can say that you'll become wise and it's good for the health. All yoga teachers tell you to rise early in the morning and so forth. So this is sattvic way of life. So you have to consciously not stay up late at night. Don't watch television. Just don't. Those who watch television are doing suicide, butchering their bhakti lata bija, the devotional creeper. Because what are you seeing? Other people's sinful life. You may be living a sattvic life, mode of goodness, But if you're watching television, what are you watching? Fornicators, illicit sex. Anymore, a movie's no good unless it's full of illicit sex. It'll be a box office bomb if it's not full of illicit sex. But devotees are watching. Oh, wow, very good, nice. Why? We're not supposed to glorify illicit sex, but devotees are watching. Breakfast time. So, anyways, I'll wind it up. So then, you have to adjust things as close as favorable for devotional service. In your case, no excuse. And spend quality time with your children. You have kids, you have to spend quality time with them. I used to be a householder. I had a daughter 5 years old. I used to sit down and read Krishna book stories. A nice young boy like this. Do you play video games? No? No video games? That's pretty rare. That's your boy? That's very rare in boys anymore. They all want to play video games. You sit down and read Krishna book stories. Well, my daughter she's 40 years old now, happily married to a devotee. She has a son who's a brilliant little boy, 9 years old, probably a genius, and very high qualities of Krishna consciousness. So, when she was 5 years old, I would read her stories from Krishna book. I would change the big words to little words, that she could understand. If a couple of days went by and I didn't read her a story, she would say, "Pita, read me a story." So children like stories. Even the Bhagavatam is full of stories. You can read them stories from the Bhagavatam as a family. Husband, wife, children should sit down together. In America, the Christians say, the family that prays together stays together. That's Vaishnava wisdom, So you have to sit down and do family activity. You can't just leave the children in the back room playing video games. That's not parenting. Then by the time they're 15 years old, you'll lose them. They won't be interested they will be rude and offensive. This boy I'm talking about was not even 15 years old. He's only about, I don't know how old he is. He's not that old, maybe 12. Already he's ruined because his father pampers him too much, you see. So adjust your schedule. Increase your hearing and chanting with you, the children, and your wife. Then your life can become perfect. Children can do things like doing service to deities. They can do that. That's another reason for having Gaurnitai or Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra. Children can do service. There are many stories throughout the Shastra where children are doing service for deities. There's one instance of a little Brahman, a boy who was a son of a Brahmin, a very young boy. His father went out and told the boy, "You make the offering." I don't know. I don't remember what kind of deity he had. Do you know this story? He went out. How many of you know this story? It's a good story. It's a true story. It's not mythology. So the father went out to do something. He told the boy, "You make the offering." So he made the offering in accordance with the instruction of his father. But when he opened the curtains, he saw the prasad was still sitting there. He got very upset. So then he started talking with the deity. "My dear Lord, I don't understand. I offer you this food. I offer you this nice food stuff. You're supposed to eat it, but you didn't eat it. Why?" And then he reoffered it. So this happened about 3 times. He was crying because, "Oh Krishna, why aren't you eating? I'm offering you this food for you to eat, but you're not eating it." Finally, on the third time, the boga disappeared. Didi ate all of it, didn't leave any prasad behind. When his father came home from his chores, he asked, "Where's my dinner?" The little boy says, "Well, the Didi ate it." Father got a little upset. He has no dinner now. His wife had to cook again, something like that. He thought, I better figure out what's going on here, something unusual. So then he asked the boy, make another offering. He made an offering, and then, but the father was spying this time to see what happened. And then he could see that the prasadam was disappearing because he was eating it. Then he realized, my God, my son is a very advanced soul because Krishna's eating it and not leaving any prasad behind. Haribol. Whole family engaged in Krishna consciousness. Anything else? Thank you very much. Jagaguru Sri Baba Ki Jai. Karantara Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.